I want to welcome everybody to a little bonus chat with Tom and Ramon here on Conscious TV. Go over a couple things before we get going in the conversation. I want to encourage everybody to pop into the website. We've got quite a few new things going on now. We've got the iTunes is now up and running, and if you would like it, all you have to do is go to the website, and there is a tab right at the top of the main page that will give you the link to the iTunes subscription page, so you can put the stuff on your iPod and walk around and listen to us. If not, like you can't get enough of us on Wednesdays, so take us with you. Another thing we're doing now is Ramon and I, after talking about it and toying with it for a while, have decided to put our services out to anybody who would like to partake of them. I read tarot, and I have read tarot for about 23 years now, and Ramon is a budding healer. He is finding that he has a certain gift in that area, and we actually built a page on the website. It has a form there that you can fill out to contact us for either of those services. We do not charge for those services. Main thing we ask is that you pay it forward. Spread the love. I mean, if you get anything out of it, do something nice for somebody else, or if you feel like you want to donate, you can donate through the website. That's always appreciated too. But primarily, what we're looking for is just spreading what's going on. Spread the consciousness. That's our main purpose here. So. Oh, let's see. What else have we got going on, Ramon?
We're also got the top paranormal site and the top spiritual site. If you can go on there and vote, you can vote every day, and that'll just help us get up there and get the message out. Make sure you also check the video links and the news article, which is down below on the first page. We try to update that as soon as we get news. And if you have any news, go ahead and email us at info@conscious-tv.com. For those of you listening to this for the first time, we're on BBS every Wednesday, 5 p.m., and that's Pacific time, and 8 p.m. Eastern time on bbsradio.com, Station 1.
That's 10 a.m. Japan time.
Yes. And 1 a.m. English time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We also have some great guests coming up.
We'll have this posted tomorrow. Today is March 8th for me, March 9th for you. Is that right?
Yes.
Ron? Okay, so it's March 8th here in the U.S. And we're probably going to try to post this tonight, and so it will be airing and available prior to the second interview with Crystal Clark.
Yes. Make sure you listen to her first one, so you'll be on page with us. We're doing a series with her. We feel that she's really on point with her information. It really does her homework. She's really well connected. If you listen to the first interview, we talk about how she makes a connection with water and how water actually gave her information. She had to decode it, but still she got information from water, which is nothing new. I mean, shaman's been saying this for a long time. So.
Right. Yeah, she's very articulate with the information, and she's really put things together. So,
and her book is it's a big book, but it's amazing. And for those of you who don't like that kind of information, she also did a part 2, which is more of a fictional, using all the information in her book, which is also amazing. And after that, the 16 we have Kurt Nugent. Kurt video, if you put up Kurt Nugent, um, what's it called again? It's
I want you to remember.
yeah, those video series that he has, just me and Tom saw that and we had to have him as a guest. I want to thank Jenna for putting that up on Facebook. And after that, we're on with Hillary Ramo. Hillary Ramo does a show, I believe, on Mondays at World Puja, and she has another one. I forgot the name of it, but you can click on her picture, and it'll take you right to her website. Amazing person.
Right. She just started here. I think was last week her first show on World Puja.
Yeah,
I think so.
this
Yeah.
week I think. Or
This
was
week.
it last
Oh yeah,
week?
this Monday. Yesterday here was her first
Yeah,
show on World Puja.
that was an amazing show. She's
Yeah.
such a great speaker.
Yeah.
Um, After that, we have John D. Riley. John hasn't sent me a bio yet, so I'm gonna put that out there. But John, I met John 2 years ago at East Ranch, and John is just um, John. How can I start with
He,
John?
well, John's he's doing an amazing job of combining technology with science with spirituality. He's finding ways to amplify consciousness and uh, the connection between mind and spirit. Some of the technology that he's developing is absolutely amazing.
Not only that, but he really follows the sun, and he's the first one where I get information about all the solar flares that are coming in and how they're reacting. And those of you who are sensitive enough know what I'm talking about. I mean, for me and Tom, it's always I always feel it when there's a solar flare, and you can tell because at least in Japan, when there's a solar flare, it's really windy the next day. Really windy.
Yeah, we had one that arrived here just last week. There was one a big one last week, and
Yeah.
and wow, I don't know how much of that you can really credit to what's going on in the world right now, but uh, you know, God, there's some tie there. There's
Yeah.
definitely some tie there.
Then after that, we have Hazel Courtney. Um, Tom, you're more familiar with her.
Well, she's actually she's I haven't been able to look into too much of her material yet, but she is a quite a interesting woman who's had some very remarkable experiences with her own spiritual journey. She's had the full-blown, I suppose you can call it the Kundalini experience, where she actually lived in that experience for a significant amount of time, for several weeks, constant with that. And she actually, from don't quote me on this, but from what I gleaned from an interview I did listen to, she had a kind of a mysterious visitor that helped her ground out of it, to bring her back down to earth. Basically, she wasn't ready to go with that full-blown experience. It was really having quite an effect on her. But yeah, she looks extremely interesting. She's touched in a lot of areas. She's an author and a columnist for one of the major newspapers in London, and and I just the last couple of days I've started investigating her material, and I am going to continue working on that.
Yeah, and the other thing about Hazel is she's a perfect example of don't judge a book by its cover, because she does not look like the type who would be into this, and it goes to show you. So make sure you don't judge a book by its cover. Our next guest is a dear friend of ours, Pamela Henwood. She lives up at East City Ranch with James, and she's had a lot of amazing experiences, and that's one of the things we want to talk with her. And she also does the spontaneous Yi Gun. Um, I'll tell a quick experience with Pamela that I had. She was doing she was doing one of these spontaneous Yi Gun up in Vermont with I forgot the name of the place. Meta Earth at Meta Earth, and Kristen was nice enough to invite me up to stay with her, and I went up there for our bus ride. And the funny thing is that Pamela has this thing where she can really, during these Yigun practices, those of you who've done it with her know what I'm talking about. She was somehow, when she put her hand on my chest, I just started crying, releasing just such a huge release. And then I would laugh and cry, and I think I even drooled on her hand. But she has an amazing power of helping you release these things. So if you ever have a chance to take one of her Yigun classes, I really, really say you should.
Yeah, I
She does them
agree.
usually with Sun. Her and Sun do an amazing job at it. So that's a guest I'm really looking forward to. And she's had some amazing experiences.
Yep, she's pretty amazing. Yeah, she actually I didn't have a real big release. I don't know if it's just because I wasn't carrying that much baggage. I've been working on myself for a long time, but when my first experience there was she had put one hand on my chest, and then she just like put a finger right in the center of my back, and I had a jolt of vibration go through my body that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen her done it with a lot of people. I won't mention no names, 'cause
Yeah,
that's not my place to do. But there's been certain people I've seen that when she does that too, man, a wail comes out, just a wailing of crying, and I was like, wow, that's an old, old wound.
yeah.
Um, and she's just amazing at helping you. She doesn't do the job for you. I'm not saying that she's doing the job for you, but she helps you on the path of releasing. Um, so we'll definitely talk about that when we have her on.
Yeah. Well, that kind of
Oh,
leads me into leads us into a pretty good topic, Ramon. Doing this stuff for yourself. It's really important that everybody realizes that this is a personal journey, and I'm talking mainly. I'm pointing this directly towards those of you who may be listening who are just starting out on this quest and this voyage of personal exploration. This is something that you have to do for yourself. You cannot substitute other people's belief structure for your own personal experience. There is no substitute for experience.
yeah.
All of these things that we talk about on these shows and our guests talk about on these shows, all they're doing is pointing you in a direction for you to explore. You have to do this stuff yourself, and you have to experience it yourself, or you will never really know it.
Yeah, that's very true. With that being said, you you have to really be careful not to replace your preacher with a guru or vice versa. These people are on their own paths, and teachers are there to guide you, to show you the way, to help you open the door, but you have to walk through it. You can't get so dependent on a teacher where everything that comes out your mouth is, oh, so and so said I should do this, so I'm doing this. Um, you're not following your path when you're doing that. If you feel that's working for you, that's fine. I won't argue with you. But from my
And
own personal experience,
and you know, a lot of people need to go through that though, Ramon. I mean, to learn that lesson for themselves. And this is another example of don't take our word for this.
Yeah.
If you get into some form of religion or spiritual doctrine of some kind, and you want to jump both feet and your whole body into this thing and just go 100% towards this one doctrine, go for it. I mean, if that's what you're compelled to do, that's your spirit telling you that you need to go through this. So you'll have to. I mean, for me personally, I did this in several different doctrines that I put 110% into, and I to the exclusion of everything else, and it took those experiences for me to open my eyes and be able to go, okay, now I realize that there's something that I'm taking out of each one of these things that I'm putting in my little basket to create the doctrine of Tom. So it's really important that if you're compelled to do it, don't not do it because Tom and Ramon said don't do it. But we're just saying that it is something that, think about it.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's look at the masters for a second. You have one of the most famous ones, Jesus, Joseph ben Joseph, I believe. You have Buddha. You have all these other masters, and if you look at what they did, they didn't follow anybody else's teachings. Yes, they might have been brought up with a teaching, but they went into this part of themselves where they found their teachings, and that's why we still talk about them 2,000, 2,500 years from now, because they were able to find themselves.
And they became the masters they are because they chose their own path. They used the doctrine, some of the doctrine and the teachings that they had learned prior to their lives that had been around. They learned from other masters that had come before them, but they compiled it for themselves and took the things out of those religions for themselves to create their own viewpoint, their own doctrine. And sure, a lot of people did follow them and learned from him in those days, but I'll guarantee you, every single one of them had something in their in their teaching that said, look inside for yourself, because if you too can become a master, but to become a master you have to do it for yourself, and you have to put it together for yourself. And what just popped into my head is just right here in America. If you go from Washington State, where I live, down to the deep South, the people down there have a completely different dialect. They talk with their drawls and their yee-haws. They have a completely different accent. So you go to New York, a completely different accent. You go to the Midwest, completely different accent. They're all speaking the same language, but they have a different accent. So this is basically what happens with a person when they're growing and they're becoming their own master. They're learning the same things and the same teachings, or the truth's the truth. I mean, that's cut and dry. The truth is the truth. But each person has to have their own personal dialogue, or their own personal accent. I'll keep with that metaphor. Their own personal accent at expressing that truth within themselves. And it takes, for me personally, it took a lot of different religions and teachings from different masters, and I'm still, my God, I know I'm still growing. I've got tons and tons and an infinite amount of things to learn, but I know that I've taken some from everything that I've learned to create my own personal accent, my own personal way to present this. So it's we're all masters in waiting. If you look at it that way, we are all masters. We all carry the seed of a master within ourselves. And if we tend our garden and water our seed, and instead of hitting it with a fire hose, I think you said earlier, Ramon,
Yeah.
if you water your seed and tend your garden, that seed's going to grow, and you're going to become your own master. And that's what I see as our goals, is for each one of us to become a master.
Yeah. And like Tom said, we all have the potential. There's really nothing limiting us but ourselves. And be really careful with and this is my point of view, and I don't know if Tom, if you share the same point of view, but be careful with information that's too complicated. I I tend to get thrown off when I'm listening to someone and they're very complicated in their spirituality, meaning that they're explaining how you can reach this, but it's so complicated, and I feel like they're explaining rocket science, and really it's not rocket science. It's easy, but it's complicated because of all the junk we have in our mind, and I'm speaking of myself too because I'm not there yet.
Well,
So
there's a certain there's you got to use some discretion with this, but there's a certain amount of the complexity out there that actually helps people to understand the simplicity. If that make I don't know if you understand where I'm going with this, but the some of the complexity that I see out there, yeah, some of it is really, really just like, wow, that's a lot of words to say this. But some of those people out there that are breaking certain aspects down to try to understand and comprehend what the function and what are the key ingredients and the key components to be able to actually manifest in this world. Say, to be able to manifest things in this world, there's some significant things that a person needs to really understand to be able to do this right. So to do it successfully. So they'll break down those kinds of things, and yeah, they get complex at sometimes, and probably more so than they need to. But there is a lot of people out there that need that complexity to be able to comprehend it.
I understand what you mean. Well, let's use some of our guesses. Um, okay, so Crystal Clark's stuff can be looked as complex, but at least the way my mind works, I look at it as very simple, and it speaks to me. I guess what I'm saying is it speaks. She when she talks about the law, what is it, the law of one?
The law of one,
Or
right?
yeah,
The one
it
law.
speaks to me. Yeah, the one law. It speaks to me. It's simple. I mean, even what's his name? David Wilcock. Some of the stuff that he talks about, it's complex, but it's still simple. Um, there's other people that I feel like it's maybe what they're saying is really true, but it's not. Okay, I saw a video about um what's her name? A guest coming up, Hazel, and she asked a question to what's the guy who used to work for the Vatican, Michael Ledwith.
Michael Ledwith, yeah.
Yeah, Michael Ledwith. She was doing an interview with him,
Oh,
and
that's
she
what she asked about the eighth chakra.
yes, and he said with so many dying children, and what was the other thing? And so many problems we have. that's like worrying about the rust on the Titanic sinking or something like that. As the Titanic is sinking, you're worrying about the rust on the ship. And that's how I feel about the very complex spiritual aspect. Uh, that's definitely something we want to talk about her with when she comes on the show. But
Well, I've noticed that a lot of the ones that get into that start breaking into the complex stuff, those are mainly the guys that are trying to tie the science to the spirituality. Trying to explain the science of spirituality, the science of manifestation, trying to explain the science aspect of life after death. Trying to explain the science part of our interaction, but the interaction between us and our environment, the us and the sun, us and the solar system, and the solar system and the galaxy. Those are the ones that are trying to tie the science aspect into the spirituality side of it. Is kind of the way I see it.
um, yes, there is definitely a group that use science and they explain it very well, especially those who go into like um, Fred Allen Wolf
Yeah.
does a great job at that, and I love reading his stuff.
Yeah.
But
We should
there's
we should
others
we,
that,
we should get him on the show.
yeah, we should definitely try to
Yeah.
get him on the
Anybody
show.
knows Fred? Give us a call.
Um, the, there's a way of tying into science, but what I'm talking about complexity is that science can't even touch of how complex they're talking about. Um, because if you sit here and you tell me, okay, when you get down to the smallest point, when you get down to the smallest point, you're how can I explain this? You're able sometimes during my meditation, whenever I have had manifestation, which is a great topic we'll go into next. Whenever you have manifestations, what I've noticed is that my mind is still and without focusing, but having my intention onto whatever I'm trying to do. Okay, I'll give a quick example. I was in a tuxedo in New York City. This is when I lived in New York. I'm going to work and it's pouring rain. Now, this may sound a little vain, and it is, but I didn't want the suit to get wet and then spend 8 to 10 hours in a wet tuxedo. It's not fun. So I put my intention and I, excuse me, and I started pushing up energy through my crown chakra, and I just, just focused on that as I'm walking. And the rain seemed to slow down. It seemed to slow down. Now, is this a coincidence or was I doing it? I'm just going to leave it as that. But we can explain that scientifically. With the experiments that Dr. Emoto's done, we can explain that scientifically. But I still don't find that so complex with some other stuff. But let's leave that alone and let's go into
Right.
manifestation.
No. I understand your point, and I do agree to a certain extent. Yes, absolutely.
Uh-uh.
Absolutely.
But Tom, let's.
Okay, where do we want to start with this? The how-to.
I guess
Everybody wants to know how to manifest. How do I manifest it? How do I
give us some
manifest?
examples of.
How do I do the things you see in The Secret? Oh, I'm sorry. You're not going to do the things that you see in The Secret like they tell you to do in The Secret. It does not work that way. I mean, it in a broad sense, in a very actually not necessarily a broad sense. Let me say in a very shallow sense. What you see in that movie, The Secret, is accurate. Manifestation works a little bit different in the way I see it, though. When you present your supplication to the higher forces, you have to be, number one, you have to be working with your higher mind and not with your ego mind. if you are making those requests of the universe to manifest something in your life, and you're doing it from your ego mind, it will not work unless you just happen to be in with what you're asking happens to be in alignment with universe, with the flow of universe. If you take that to the next level and you make that request through your higher consciousness and look, if you can get to a state, and I do this through in meditation, is I'll get into my my meditation state. I can't remember it's not theta. What's the other one?
Alpha.
Alpha.
Mhm.
When
The
I
high
get
alpha.
when I get into that state in my mind, I feel whether or not something is in alignment with universe, what is in alignment with the highest good of life. Those types of requests are like an arrow being shot at a target. It comes out fast and it's going boom and hits. If I'm lacking the words to explain this completely.
The way I look at it is, Brooks has a perfect way of explaining it, and the way he looks at it is like a funnel, a giant funnel. When you make that request, it goes out into the universe, and you have this giant funnel. And when you start, uh, once you come from the ego mind, you narrow the funnel for the return. And then once you start saying, "Oh, but it has to be in this package and this color and this fabric," and you narrow, and then it might come on the far left or the far right, and it missed the area. Um, s- when things manifest for me, I want it to happen, but it's let go completely, and I'm just going with the flow. That doesn't mean I stop trying. I just go with the flow. Perfect example for me and Tom is this show. You
Yeah.
must have heard us mention this. I mean, things are just flowing so easy with this show, and the show is growing slowly but steadily, and it's growing, and we're not trying to rush it, and we're getting the guests that we need on at the time, and we're never scrambling for guests. They're just there, you know. Um, we do still do our homework. We still go out, look on the internet, listen to people's interviews, read books to find out more information and see who's a great guest for us. But they flow easy. We're not scrambling to get them, and to get the show together, we never scrambled. It just came together easy, and Brooks was there at the right time, saying, "Hey guys, why don't you just do it, on BBS?" So when as Tom was saying, when you're connected, when you're coming from your higher self, things will just manifest themselves, and it's really hard to do when you're. And I've been at the position. Oh, I'll give you a great story. Um, Okay, so this is 1999, summer of 1999. I was working at Sleepy's in New York, and I just came back from vacation from Miami. Now, I was 23 years old, and a 23-year-old with $3,000 in his bank account, Miami, is never a good idea. So, needless to say, I came back pretty much broke. But of course, I was thinking I have my job and I'll make the money back. And I was thinking, okay, next trip, where's the next trip? And that's what was my mind on. So I get laid off as soon as I get back, the day I get back from my vacation. After spending my vacation pay and everything, I get laid off. So my first day of work, I get laid off. Now, weeks and months go by. The last paycheck came in and left really quickly, and I was broke, completely broke. I mean, nothing in the refrigerator, had to go to mom's. If it wasn't for mom's and friends, then I would have just starved to death. Um, the rent was backed up by 3 months by now, and I'm sitting there looking out my window saying, man, I need something. And this little bird comes. It's a chickadee, came at the windowsill. It tweeted at me, and I said, I really hope you got good news. Because for the culture I grew up in, which is Latin from Dominican Republic, we believe that when a bird comes, it usually comes with good news. So I asked him, I hope you really have some good news because I really need it, man. And he just tweeted a few more times and left. I went down to the mailbox, and there was a check from unemployment there that was enough to get me by until I got back on my feet, and I was able to pay off my rent.
Nice.
And then from that day forward, I learned that stressing and worrying about not having makes things worse. So once you, for those of you who are struggling, who, maybe you're not paying your mortgage, you're about to lose that, that might be a good thing. It might not be. I'm not the one to judge it, but you can definitely learn a lot and just let it go. Ask for the universe and let it go, and keep your eyes open, because where a door closes, really a window opens.
Yep. Yep. Well, I've got several little stories like that myself. Had God, I remember. I can't remember what the heck I was needing money for. This was before I started building ambulances. It was between hurting my back crab fishing and starting building ambulances. Me and my wife at the time were ended up living with another couple because we didn't have the money to rent a house. And God, I can't remember what it was, but I ended up getting a check for $1,500, and it was enough to do the first and last. It was enough to get us into the house, and right after that, I ended up getting a job. So yeah, I don't remember exactly what that whole thing was. God, that was a long time ago. But anyways, the whole manifestation thing, God, my best advice on this, if somebody came and asked me about it, I would just tell them, just hope for the highest good for yourself, and do it from your heart, and don't ask for things. Don't ask for things. Just ask for the highest good for yourself and the highest good for those around you. And the world, actually, the universe will give you what you want. It's amazing. I mean, it takes you where you need to go, and it makes sure it takes care of all your needs. The basic subsistence for life is always taken care of. If you put it out to the universe and say, help me. Here we go. I'm trusting in you. Put a little bit of faith into it, and it will come your way every time.
Yep. I definitely agree with that. Even if it's just a friend saying, hey, man, I got some extra food. Do you want it?
Yeah.
Because, a lot of us have been there, so.
Yeah. So, I there's a lot of things that I want. Oh, sure, it'd be nice to have this. It'd be nice to have that. Oh, that'd be cool to have,
Like a flying saucer.
Yeah, but I quit quite a while back asking universe for things. My goal, I don't know, my passion in life is, I guess some people would term it ascension. I want to understand what's going on. I want to know the truth. That's what it boils down to, is I want to know the truth. And I put every ounce of my energy towards that goal. I every day while I'm working my job to be able to pay my bills and pay my rent and do all these things, while I'm working my job, I have an iPod stuck in my ear listening to interviews. I listen to lectures. I listen to interviews. I listen to audiobooks. I come home. You guys are going to say, oh, my God, this guy is a psycho. He's just like obsessive compulsive disorder or something. No, this has been going on for many, many, many years, and I'm learning. And I don't know, the things have lost they've lost their luster for me. I don't the true value in life for me is those things that are not of a material nature.
With that being said, I think it's time to shift into our main question. So we've done how many shows, Tom? 14? 13 shows?
16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
16 shows. So that's pretty much one season, huh?
That's
or half a season, I think it is.
That's 4 months. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those of you listening for first time, our main question to all our guests is always, what is consciousness? And Tom, what have you learned so far? Because for me and Tom, yes, we're giving this information out to you, but this is also, in a selfish way, it's also for us to learn from these people, these guests that we have on. So it would be meaningless for us to have the show and not learn anything from these guests.
Oh, yeah. Well, this has been actually quite an amazing trip. The last 4 months has been absolutely an amazing learning experience.
It's been 4 months? Wow.
Well, the 17th, I think, is the 17th. We started November 17th, Ramon, our first show.
Yeah.
So the 17th is 4 months. So
wow.
we're 9 days away now. So. Consciousness. What is consciousness? I am.
Yep.
I had to let the silence go there for effect, But basically, consciousness is. I found that there are many levels of consciousness, and we live within a conscious universe. And each level, all the way from the universal, the galactic, the solar system, the planet, the sun, the earth, the rocks, the plants, every chunk of matter, every atom, everything in existence in the material plane has a form of consciousness. Now, there's a huge difference between sentient consciousness and consciousness and flat, straight out consciousness. Consciousness is, in its complexity that Ramon doesn't like to talk about. We get into if we take a plant, for instance, and everybody that's listened to our shows heard us talk about, I think it was Clive, what's his name? Clive Baxter? Is it Clive Baxter?
Clive Baxter.
Okay, he's the one that originally did that experiment with right. He's the one that originally did that experiment where he hooked up the electrodes or whatever they're called to the plant, the same stuff that they use on lie detector tests up to a plant to try to elicit some kind of response and prove that plants were conscious. Now, he was successful in doing that, and it's a repeatable, scientifically based fact that plants react to conscious thought. He's not the only one that this experiment has been repeated by many, many, many scientists, where they it's just absolutely amazing. That work is just absolutely amazing. It along with the work of Dr. Emoto in Japan, with the water and in flash freezing water while praying on water, or telling water I hate you, or putting different emotions into the water and flash freezing it and looking at the crystals, the water crystals. It's just absolutely amazing work that proves that our consciousness and our emotions has an effect on our material world. If we have an effect, our consciousness, our intention has an effect on inanimate matter, that proves that matter has to be of the same type of fundamental element that our consciousness is, or it would not be able to interact like that.
Agreed.
Conscious.
Agreed.
So that says all of those things possess a form of consciousness. So just like the rice experiment that I did, and if you guys listened to the first 10 shows that we did, you heard us talking about that rice experiment quite a bit. Just like that rice experiment. And people, I'll tell you what, bring this home to yourself so you can see the physical results in your own home of consciousness on inanimate matter. Do that experiment. It is so simple to do. You fill the stuff up, you put it in your jars or your glasses, and you talk to it once a day and leave it alone. Just walk off. It's nothing that you have to babysit, or you don't have to. It's so simple to do.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
But the power, yes, it's so powerful when you start seeing those results, and when you come to a point where the results are slapping you in the face and saying this is real, it hits you. It goes inside your core, and it's something that you can know for yourself because you did it yourself. And you know, my consciousness is powerful enough to affect inanimate matter. My consciousness. Not somebody else's consciousness that affected somebody else's matter. My consciousness affected that matter. If you can know that, you can change your life. Then you start doing the secret thing. You can start manifesting things in your world. You manifest a happy life. You can do that when you realize that your thoughts and your emotions and your intention will affect the matter around you. And if it'll do that to inanimate matter, what effect does it have on animate matter? So, take that home. Do that experiment.
Yeah. The way I look at consciousness, to say exactly the same thing you said but in different words, is awareness. And the reason why I can say that is from when I started searching when I was 17, now I'm 35. What's really changed the most drastically is my awareness. I'm aware when there's other energies in the room. I'm aware how solar flares affect my body. I'm aware of just weird things that I can't explain. I'm aware of other people's vibrations when it feels kind of iffy or it feels great, you start becoming more and more aware. And for some of you who've heard this story before, I'm growing mints in my house, and they were really big, and they've been growing very beautifully. So I was just cutting some mints, and I dry them out, and to make tea every night. And I was getting to a point that I'm looking for another one to cut, and I heard something say, "Enough," and it kind of freaked me out. And the plant, I felt like there was an attitude about it, but it was correct. So what's the difference in that is just my awareness. I've become more sensitive where I can't go and talk to the plant right now, but these things are starting to happen more frequently. And I don't know we can go into the next subject, but I don't know what the deal is with 2012 to be exact, but something is happening because now I'm finding it my meditations are easier are more powerful, and maybe because if I've been doing it so long, but it just things are moving faster, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a combination of things going on right now, Ramon. We've got this whole 2012 thing, the things that are happening in our world today. Uh, I think the Mayans knew something. Uh, the Chinese knew something. The
Druids,
Hopi knew something.
yeah.
The Christians knew something. The Jews knew something. There is, and they may not have consciously known something, but somewhere subconsciously they put things down in a manner that points to this time in history of being a time of significant and biblical or galactic or gigantic change for the whole paradigm of humanity. Uh, I feel that there is definitely some valid points being made about the energy coming in from the cosmos because I feel it.
Yeah.
There's, and then I look at what everybody's saying, and then I think about what we are, what humanity is, what a human being is. A human being is, and I'm going to the completely physical definition. Our body functions. The only reason we're able to do anything, to move, is from electromagnetic impulses that are being generated from our brain that shoots through nerves to trigger blah 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 blah. We are electromagnetic beings. Our whole physiology is based on electromagnetism. We live on a planet that is protected by electromagnetic field. The whole everything in this universe that is fundamentally based on electromagnetism. Now, I like what Jay Widener said about the mistake that physics and science has made throughout the ages about gravity. That it's not the force of gravity that keeps us held on the earth here. It's electromagnetism.
That's a great example because you can definitely show that with a balloon. If you have a balloon and you rub it on your head or you rub it on a piece of fur, and
Right.
you have
It absolutely
clumps.
overcomes gravity so easily. So
Yeah,
so I see.
yeah.
Yeah, I see that there's so much going on right now, and we are moving in. I think that somebody saw somewhere in our history, or it's our souls, our higher consciousness that is communicating this information to us, and has been communicating it to us for eons, that this is a time that we're going to be moving into an area of the galaxy where these waves are going to be cascading over our planet and changing our consciousness, changing us to the next level in our evolution, to a
Ramping up the juice.
right. We are becoming more than what we were before. That's what life's all about. You grow. We are growing as a race. We are growing as a solar system. We're growing as a planet. Everything is growing, and we're just growing into the next level. Maybe our flower is beginning to open. Now that we have the sun of the galaxy, the radiation of the galaxy shining down on our pitiful little solar system floating out here in the third lenticular arm, we finally came out of the shade of that other arm that was blocking all the radiation, and we're getting the sunlight that we need, or the galaxy light that we need for our flower to open and us to bloom. I like that metaphor.
Yeah. It's funny. Me and Tom sometimes we usually talk at least. Besides the show, we talk at least 2-3 times a week, and sometimes more. But sometimes we have these great conversations like, oh man, we should have recorded that.
And then we try to reproduce it on the show, and it was like, what did I say?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with the whole 2012, I agree there with, as Jack Alice was saying, don't focus on the dates. The world's not going to end. And if it does, you're an everlasting being and you move on. Stay away from the fear base. I mean, we're being pumped with fear-based information constantly. And it's good to know what you're up against. I'm not saying don't stay in ignorance bliss, because that's not healthy either. You need to find out the information, but don't be completely absorbed by the information. And
don't let it control you.
Yeah. Take a step back and then look at the other side of the coin. You know, there's a lot of horrible things happening out in the world, but there's a lot of great, amazing things happening in the world. And with that, I would like to get into a little news. Tom, you want to start it off, or do you want me to go into
news? Well, let's see. I think the U.S. people are starting to wake up. The third dimensional side of us are starting to actually wake up. We're watching what's going on over in the Middle East, and I think there's a faction of people here in the U.S. that are going, hey, we can do that too. We should be doing that. Look at what they're doing to us. I'm speaking specifically of the stuff that's going on in Wisconsin right now, which is I'm proud of those guys. I mean, that whole situation going on over there should really be showing people who are able to find out what is going on over there a few things. That yes, there is still that heart in the United States. There's still that heart in this world for people who want to be free, who want to have the truth as their basis of society, and who want justice and want things to be right here, and are flat out sick and tired of the bullshit. So, I mean,
the bullshit.
The bullshit. Yes, we don't like the bullshit. So no, I that's really all the stuff going on right now. Is a lot of people are seeing it like, oh my God, there's war. They're going to be war. Blah blah. Oh, they're looking at the dark side of it. Oh, this is going to be. It's going to hurt so much to go through this. Well, yes, it probably will hurt some. Some of this stuff to change it. This change is not going to be. We're not going to go through this without feeling some of the pain. But you gotta do it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, for example, if we're building a house, we're building this house to live in, It's gonna take a lot of sweat equity, and we might hit our fingers with the hammer and stumble over a piece of wood and Tom, why you left that there, and
Yeah,
whatever, and
yeah.
I'm sleepy, I didn't sleep good last night. But at the end, this house is gorgeous and beautiful, and you get to live in it. But back to the news. The one news I want to address is the whole thing. If you look at our video links, I have it up. Hillary Clinton talking about they're losing the information war,
The
and
propaganda battle.
yeah, and she flat out says it. Flat out says it, which was such a shock to me when I first saw this video, that just flat out said it.
Yeah.
There was no hiding behind it, that we're losing the propaganda war. And I think this this news is a double-edged sword. Yes, we're definitely, we're so connected through Facebook and internet and Skype. I mean, I live in Japan, Tom lives in Washington. We interview people from all over the world, and we have listeners from all over the world. But you also have to be careful in the sense that the she's also telling us at the same token that they're gonna come at us stronger. So you're really gonna have to be able to step back and really look at the whole picture, because she's also telling us underneath these lines that they're gonna come at this a lot stronger.
Here comes the
And,
more bullshit.
yeah, and the bull is crapping even bigger piles of shit being thrown at you. So with that being said, you really need to
Use your best
resonate.
discretion.
Yeah, resonate with the information that's being thrown at you. And you know,
Yeah.
I I really feel great about what she's saying too, because it's showing that yes, we are connecting. Something is happening. I mean, as everybody has said over and over again, and we'll probably be saying this into we pass on to the next life or move on to the next dimension.
Hmm.
That what happened in Egypt through something like Facebook is just amazing. It's unheard of. You gotta understand, in the time we're living in, we're doing things that are unheard of. When have you heard of a bunch of cops going into a protest and joining them? When have you heard a revolt? When a huge protest started through Facebook, where an entire country shuts down and they have to shut down the internet? Unheard of. I mean, when have you heard of an indigenous woman not taking down, but giving a strike at Chevron? Unheard of. I mean,
Yeah.
we're going through unheard of times, and this is all new to us. And yes, it can be scary, but sit in the foundation that these are necessary bruises that we have to go through, and they don't have to feel like bruises.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yep. We got a lot of. Actually, I am so optimistic about our future. Uh, I'm not going to say I'm not happy to see people going through pain. Okay, I don't. I'm not. So please don't take me wrong when I say this. But my heart and the feelings that I get when I see this turmoil starting is I kind of get a relief feeling, like finally people are waking up and we're going to do something about it. Finally somebody's saying something besides just these people in the pushed back in the dark corner on the internet or at their little conferences or whatever. Finally, the general population is actually starting to do something too. They're starting to see that change can happen, and change can happen now. and we can be the ones that make it change.
Yeah. I mean, the future completely depends on you. But Tom, I want to ask you. So there's another news where, oh man, his name just escaped me. The famous archaeologist, Egyptologist from Egypt,
Zahi
Zahi,
Zahi
Zahi,
Hawass.
yes, Hawass. Um, did you hear he stepped down?
Did he really? No, I did
Yeah.
not hear that yet.
And it's funny how, okay, so yesterday I was doing some meditation and I heard nature.com. So so when I was done with my meditation, I went to nature.com and I was like, okay, I've never been on this site, and it's a scientific magazine and they have all sorts of things. So I'm like, what kind of information? So I see that he stepped down and that he's worried that now they're gonna start taking stuff from the museums and things like that. And this is completely speculation on my part, but the whole thing that's happening in the entire Middle East, and funny enough that the things that are happening in the countries are always countries who are very rich in old archaeological things, very old societies. Iraq, Afghanistan, now Egypt. And now I don't know how true this is in the Egypt case, but now they're claiming that people are taking stuff from there. Now, from your gut feeling, Tom, do you think that the whole thing in Egypt, they're using this to be able to get some ancient technologies that are maybe in a crate somewhere? Things that make you go, hmm. And
I'm
so,
I'm looking right now. So I kind of
uh,
see uh, there's ulterior motives behind this, but
I think what happened in Egypt wasn't expected from my point of view, but I think they're taking advantage of the
someone's trying
situation.
to take advantage of it let's just say there's certain things that a certain group don't want the masses to know about.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example back with Egypt. And I heard this from Brooks and I heard this from Kerry Cassidy, where last year, 2010, they were Zahi Hawass was saying that there was a lot of water underneath the Sphinx, and they needed to get that water out of there, and they were bringing down these huge drilling machines. Now, for those of you who know who the Dreaming Prophet is, Edgar Casey, he says that there was a library under there.
Right.
So they were digging and they were bringing a lot of stuff up, and Brooks had some pictures that was sent to him where it just shows this a lot of crates being brought up. You can't tell what's in the crate, and nothing's conclusive. And of course, like I said before, this is pure speculation on my part.
There's actually been some people that have been reporting excavations going on at night, and people then them hauling stuff out from underground at night. You know, so yeah, there's stuff going on there behind closed doors or under the veil, so to say.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if these dark elite groups are taking advantage of all this, because I mean,
I don't think
Iraq.
I don't think they're taking advantage of it. This is not what I'm feeling at all. I get the feeling that they are scrambling to try to get some stuff moved before they lose control of before they lose control of it.
Yeah.
Because if the people get their way there, it will be open.
I'm, yeah, that's I have to agree with you because I'm wondering now that's because we all know that the Zawi Hawass kept a very tight lid on all of this. Like, for example, great Egyptologists, very high respect for guys like Anthony West, who, and there's others, I just can't remember the names, but who really
Christopher
went in there.
Dunn, Michael Schratt, he's a geologist, but yeah,
Oh yeah, Michael
yeah,
Schratt, yeah.
there are just some absolutely amazing minds that have worked over there that know
Yeah,
that there's something wrong.
and I remember buying Anthony's West videos like still VHS, so we're talking about 15 years ago, and I remember how much that really opened me up, and he really does some hard science and really asks the right questions. I mean, for example, the sarcophagus. Zahil Was has always said that that was done with other rocks, and he's like impossible to get these perfect cornered lines in what is it, concrete? Not concrete. It's granite.
Granite, yeah.
Yeah, in granite to get these perfect lines, perfect measurements. I mean, the walls are smooth, and when who was it? I'm trying to remember if it was either Anthony West or somebody else was trying to mimic that with a laser cutter. And I think, don't quote me on this, I think they couldn't even do that correctly.
Right.
Like the laser wasn't even good enough. And I mean, as has been said over and over again, we don't even have the technology now to build the pyramids.
Yeah. Christopher Dunn did quite a bit of good, really amazing work on the that kind of stuff, where trying to figure out how they did these inside corners out of granite with copper chisels. I mean, oh come on, copper chisels,
Yeah.
shaping granite like that. Yeah. Look into Christopher Dunn's work. I mean, I suggest anybody that really, if this sparked interest in anyone, look into Christopher Dunn's work. He's got some amazing stuff out there that on trying to figure out how the pyramids were built and what they were used for, and how a lot of the architecture there was done. He raises some really thought-provoking questions.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who was the guest. It was I heard it on either Red Ice Radio or Veritas. Two great shows to listen to. If you're just starting to get into this. The guest was saying that in Lake Vostok, which is in Antarctica, and the NSA has completely taken it over, and they don't know because of national security. Such a great word, right, Tom?
Yeah. Right.
Hey, Tom, I need you to hand over your bank account because of national security.
Right. Yeah. No problem. Here it is. Yeah.
So they taken it over, and what one of the rumors is about Lake Vostok is that the water there is so pure, and I'm sure you've heard me guess about this sometimes. The water there is so pure that supposedly it'll help us live longer. Now, the reason why I bring that into it is I'm wondering if the Giza pyramid, some people believe that it was some kind of power plant, and that it used water. And if you listen to some of Brooks' show, he talks about that, and also in the books Forbidden History, they talk about that as well. How they believe it was some kind of power plant using water, and when you have these shafts, you have these burns. So I'm wondering if when they first made these pyramids, were they using it to somehow split water and making power, or how they believe that heavy water, when you're able to boil it off at the right temperature, it gives off this steam, and that water is the one that helps you live longer and is very curable. Um, and the going back to natural springs, for example, natural springs give off this water, and everybody always says that's always the best water. So I'm wondering if the fountain of youth is all based on these things and the Giza pyramid. I might be tying things in too much, maybe not. Like I said, it's all speculation. It's up to all of us to do our homework and look into and find these answers. But Tom?
Fundamentally, water is essential to life, and clean water. And, that we've had, here on this planet, we've had good, clean water up until the 20th century. I mean, actually mid-20th century, before our water really started. Well, actually, I think we started really messing with it, and
Yeah, I was
people
going to say
started
19th century.
we started getting bad water in the 19th century when we started making pipes and started piping water.
Because in New York City, they had to, if you've ever been to New York City, there's a place called Canal Street, and they had to, that was an actual canal that it runs through Chinatown and Tribeca, and they had to fill it up because it was so filthy.
Right. Well, so you look back at that, and then you look back even farther than that. The good water, even though it probably it definitely creates a healthier life, a healthier body for a person. It doesn't necessarily, just the water itself isn't necessarily a cure-all or a life extension miracle cure type thing. But I do believe, and actually my nephew and I both are going to be doing that here, getting started on it real soon, is the dew collection and rainwater collection to try to create our own alchemist stone. And
Okay.
you're familiar with that, right, Ramon?
No, I was just going to ask you
Wait.
go further into that.
Well, this comes from Jay Widener, and this is basically what he considers what true alchemy is. And it's a philosopher's stone is what it's called, to create your own. Let me explain what he does, how he explains doing it. And there's a difference between stuff that's grounded and stuff that is cosmic. Okay, the etheric, the stuff that's coming from higher sources, and the stuff that's grounded. If it's grounded, it's not going to have the same effect as if you collect this water from the air, hence the dew or rain, something that never touches the ground. And if you let it touch the ground, it grounds itself, and then it loses all its properties. What you do is you start gathering water, and you just gather it in a glass jar, put a tarp out with a rock in the middle and a hole in it, and your glass jar underneath it, and let the dew every morning fill your jar up. You take that jar and you collect this water until he says it takes about 150 gallons to get it done right. And what you do is you take this water and you boil this water off, and you boil it off, and you boil it off, and you keep boiling it off, and you keep mixing the salts that are left, or the salts that are left afterwards. You keep combining those back in with the water, and you fold it back in, and you keep boiling it off. You boil off this whole 150 gallons until you have about 1 ounce left. And he said that 1 ounce of water is where the magic lies. As long as it's never been grounded, and it collects the cosmic essence, the positive. You have a positive and negative effect. Okay, a positive negative charge. The Earth is the negative charge, and the air, sky, cosmos is the positive charge. This is going into the electromagnetic thing, blah blah blah. It can get real complicated if you go into it real deeply. But
Yeah.
this stuff that holds the cosmic charge is what we're lacking here on the planet because we're constantly grounded.
Is that the? Do you think that's maybe one of the reasons why it's illegal, like in Colorado, to collect rainwater?
I think there might be something to it. It's actually illegal in all over the United States to collect rainwater.
Really?
They say their reasoning is that it screws with the natural aquifer.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I'm sorry.
Bullshit.
That's what their fundamental reasoning is that it robs water from the natural aquifer. So
Let me say this how my mom would say it. That is pura mierda. Oh, sorry.
So anyways, if you guys are interested in the Philosopher's Stone thing that I was just talking about there, check out Jay Widener's website. He has got some amazing material there, and you can find out all the details right there from him. And
so you take the rock, you take a rock and you drill a hole through it, or
no. You take a tarp or something to collect the dew. You you tie your tarp off up in somehow so it's suspended in the air. You throw a rock in the middle of it so it dips down in the middle. You can throw a rock, you can throw a shoe, you can throw anything you want. You just want the center of your tarp to dip down so that all the water goes to one center point. You put a hole in the tarp right there so that the water drips through it. I just said a rock just because it's something heavy that you can throw in there that'll weight the center of your tarp down. You follow?
and then that dew will collect and drip down
Drips down into a glass jar or a container that collects it. And you want to make sure that container's not sitting on the ground. You don't want this ever to touch the ground. If any of it ever touches the ground, you might as well just dump it out and water your lawn.
So you have to set it up on something.
Yeah, set it up on something, as a wooden table or something. I would use something that does not conduct electricity. I would use, probably a wooden table or a crate or something,
Yeah.
But you don't want it to be setting right on the ground. If it touches the ground, and if it ever touches the ground, through the whole process, if it ever touches the ground, it loses its cosmic charge, its positive charge.
So after you boil this off of 150 gallons, which that sounds like it'll take
It takes
a long time
to do, yes.
then you drink that water?
Yes, you drink that water. And
I
he
think
says
you sound
it does things. He says it does things like it'll grow your teeth back. It cures all your ills. You start to grow younger. He said it and
definitely
and we were talking about manifestation earlier.
Yeah.
If somebody takes this and does this, and I would have to say, personally, I'm going to do it in a form of ritual as I do this. I'm going to do it with the correct state of mind, with an intention state of mind, a reverent state of mind, a divine state of mind. So I'm going to use a form of ritual every time I do any one of these functions of collecting the water or boiling the water or dumping it, whatever I'm doing. I will do it with that intention and with that ritualistic type state of mind as I'm going through this process, which will do nothing but add to the energy that is going into this.
So Tom, you've become the little scientist, have you?
You know what? There's so much out there that we just don't know.
Yeah,
What's
for those of you out there who, and and I'm guessing already who would be some of the people who would try this. I'm not going to mention your names, but you know who you are of our listeners. Um, for those of you who try it, please, as soon as you do this, it's going to be a while, obviously. Um, Send us an email, and that goes with anything. If you've had an experience, or if you've been contact for a long time, we had on uh,
Billy Willingham?
Billy Willingham, and he's never written a book, and it was the first time on the show, and we met him at ECETI, and we knew he had an important message to get out. That goes the same for you. If you're one of these people, please write us your story. Our email, once again, is info, I-N-F-O, at conscious-tv.com.
Yep. Yeah. Or if you guys just got some feedback, tell us, you guys suck, or I love you guys, or talk about this, or we'd like to hear you interview X, or anything. Just give us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. We'd
Oh, you can
absolutely.
get on the forum, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Use the
Forgot all
forum.
about the
Use the forum. We're actually got that up, and it looks pretty good. And we've got a few people on there now, and some very stimulating conversations going on there. So use it, please. Yeah.
Yeah, and please, one thing I don't like about forums is that it tends to be a place for arguments. This is not a place for arguments. Everybody has their own views on things, and none of us have it all.
Right. Right.
So, this is
Constructive criticism is one thing, and just vicious, malicious criticism's another.
yeah,
Constructive criticism is a good thing.
yeah, of course, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, everybody has their own path, and everybody has their own way of growing, and you know, not everybody's gonna agree with what we're saying. Oh, and the other thing is also we're on Facebook. So for you Facebook junkies, including myself, Tom is not one,
No.
but I am. You can get us on Facebook, Conscious-TV. You can find us, or just go onto the main page and scroll down under the countries, and just click Facebook.
Yeah. So okay, well, Ramon, we've got about an hour and something here already tonight on this. So we've got we're at about almost an hour and a half right now. So let's go ahead and break this off, and we'll put it out here for everybody to listen to, and we'll.
Yeah, I just want to mention really quick the 48 countries.
Yeah. Yeah, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you all. Yeah. So
anything else?
Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
Oh, and last thing we forgot to mention is April the 6th we will be live. That would be on BBS Radio at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So please call in. I don't have the numbers here with me, but I will that day. So make sure you call us up and let us know what you want to talk about, or if you have stories to share.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
It's only going to be an hour long, so.
Yep. Let's see, I had something else I wanted to say, but I forgot. So.
My mom says.
Yeah. Oh! I know what it was. Actually, I think Ramon and I are gonna. Maybe once a month we'll do a little show like this and throw it in the archives and on YouTube and Facebook, et cetera, and on the iPod or iTunes, and yeah, keep looking for it. We'll get more of these out there. So, all right. Adios.
Adios, and thank you very much for listening. We had a great time, and looking forward to your response.
All right.